So you've been in the gun business for about 50 years altogether. Um, who along the way, like if you had to name a few individuals along the way, who would have influenced you an awful lot over this 50-year period of time? Obviously, your grandpa.
Sure.
But maybe who, in addition to your grandpa, has helped you a lot along the way?
Well, I would say, no doubt, my good friend Richard Vasquez. Richard did a career in the Marine Corps as a 2112 master gunsmith, but he also, as he became more senior, and some of his guns have won at Camp Perry, by the way. I mean, this guy makes very, very good rifles.
He still makes rifles too.
Yeah, he does. He still does. He, on a very select basis, he makes rifles, and he's really specializes in like M40 sniper rifles and custom 1911s and M14 builds, old school stuff. But he can do anything. He's a master machinist. But anyways, Rick did 20-some years in the Marine Corps. But not only did he have a career as a master gunsmith, but being a Spanish speaker, he got involved with some security things. He ended up being a staff NCOIC in what is in the Marine Security at the embassies. Okay, he was on embassy
US
duty.
Embassy, yeah.
And
the Marines guard all the U.S. embassies, is that right?
Around the world, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, and when they had the big debacle in Russia, when they had the sex for secret scandal, and they had to replace everyone, they found out that security had been totally compromised. And there was only a couple of Marines involved, not the whole bunch, but just they cleaned house. Rick was the guy they sent to take over that security, and he's very well respected in the security industry, the diplomatic industry, very well known. And after he got out of the Marine Corps, he went to work for ATF, and he worked in the technical branch, and he did ended up becoming a trainer for them. And pretty much, Rick was the guy that taught me advanced marksmanship. He was the guy that taught me a lot about armor. He was the guy that taught me to read gun magazines with a jaundiced eye and realize they're just a commercial.
Yeah.
And to start thinking for myself a little bit, and also he taught me what it meant to be a good leader and non-commissioned officer. So Rick, and he's a good friend of mine. The other guy, right off the bat, is a guy by the name of Randy Wakeman. Randy's a gun writer. He writes for ChuckHawks.com. He's been in the industry for many years. Matter of fact, he's a technical writer. He wrote a lot of the he wrote different manuals for gun manufacturers, the instruction manuals, and he's very sharp, and he has a pretty good web presence at Randy Wakeman Outdoors. And Randy and I got to be friends with my involvement in smokeless muzzleloaders, and especially the Savage smokeless muzzleloader. Randy was a big driving force behind that, and he helped me and mentored me along there. And he's a good shotgun writer, and he's a good friend of mine. And then I would say your dad. Your dad was just always supportive of me. When I would come down here to the range, he was always just so friendly and made me feel welcome. And I watched how he dealt with people, and just a nice guy and a smart guy. And I would consider him a good influence on me as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that about
I bet
him,
not.
so.
I bet not.
Good deal. What about, can you tell us about Scifres Gunsmithing? What's your main niche or your main product?
Well, I guess you have to back up a little bit as how I ended up opening my current business. I work for Duke Energy, and somebody said to me the other day, gunsmiths are a dying breed. I said, yeah, they all starve to death. And so it's tough. It's a tough business, but I was blessed enough that I made my career in the utility industry. I worked for the gas company, and then I ended up working for Duke Energy at the Wabash River Station, and the last several years there, I was a senior operator, control room operator, but they closed and they offered a buyout and an early retirement package, which I accepted. My wife and I had been involved for 20-some years with this boys ranch down in Florida, and my wife is a K through 12 counselor, and she's an educator. Yeah, very smart lady, very sophisticated lady.
She's got to be, right?
I'm an overachiever when it comes to her. Nobody ever knows why she married me. Nobody knows why she stays with me. You know, it's just God's grace. But
Amen.
Anyways, Melinda and I they wanted her to come to join the staff and develop an education program for years. So we decided to do that, and we went down there thinking that we were going to stay there. And well, that's not what God had for us. But we went down there for 14 months, and she established a program, and I played and helped with what I could, and I kind of rode her coattails down there. And but we decided, we had a granddaughter, and we decided we wanted to move back to Indiana. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because I'm too young to be retired. I'm 55 years old. Well, their property came up, and there was a perfect, because I knew I wanted to go into the gun business, open a shop, do something. And we found a place out in the country with a building already on it, a barn, sufficient room to shoot. It was just perfect, so we bought it. And I applied for my FFL, and I decided I was going to, go into the gunsmithing business and open a small gun shop. And my business plan is a little bit different. That's why I call it Scifres Gunsmithing Services. And I think there's a misconception among a lot of people about what a gunsmith is and what they offer. You have a lot of, just like you have a lot of different kinds of doctors, you have a lot of different kinds of gunsmiths.
That's very true.
That's right. There's been, I don't know, Stephen, you can help me here, over 40,000 different designs of guns made through the history of man. I read something like that.
And if you threw in the prototype guns, it would be...
No one's ever seen them all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well over 100,000.
Yeah. So no one's worked them all. Nobody knows it all.
Yeah.
All right. But so what I consider myself is like the general practitioner, your family doctor. You bring your gun into me, okay? Or you bring your idea or your concept, whether you want a custom build, whether you need a repair, whether you just need some advice, whether it's ammunition, you need to set up tuning, whatever. I do a majority of it in-house. I do it myself, but there's certain things that I don't do in-house that I contract out. And see, this is the problem that most people have, is they don't know who's good in the industry, who's not. They don't know how to negotiate the problems. So I'm going to give you a real quick, for instance. Boyd's makes aftermarket wood stocks. Okay, they're a good manufacturer. But go to their website and try to go through that, and unless you're pretty savvy on rifles, you won't even click on the right boxes and get the right stock built for yourself. So that's something that I can help you with. Whether if you have a double action revolver, you need an action job, that's something I do. I'm very conversant in all the military guns, action work, trigger work, revolvers, setting up rifles, muzzle loaders, especially smokeless muzzle loaders. But let's say, for instance, one thing is I don't do bluing in-house. It's not cost effective for me to have that equipment, but I have a guy that does a really good job. And the other thing is too, I'll help you get through that decision-making process. Is it cost effective to do? Okay,
yes.
On your gun.
Just that consultation alone is worth so much.
Well, and so basically, this is what I tell people: bring it in. Tell us what you need, and we'll make it happen for you one way or another. And listen, if you want a brand new F-class competition rifle, I can help you through that process. We'll get you one built. I don't build those from scratch myself, okay? But say you have one that you're having problems with, does it need some troubleshooting done? Sure. And then I just do a lot of just general repair. What I like to consider myself as, I use the demonstration of like a general practitioner, but another way to look at this, I consider myself, I have a pro shop, but for the average guy.
Pro shop for the average guy.
That's right, because here's the thing.
I like that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, we've got a couple of friends. that are very advanced pistol shooters, like Robert Van Sickle and Matthias. What's his name?
Daniel. Yep.
Daniel Matthias. You know, they're very, very sophisticated, very advanced pistol shooters. Okay, so those guys, you know, they're going to come in, and what they're wanting in like a competition pistol would be like an STI or something like that.
Yep.
And they pretty well know everything. And so, can I help them get that or acquire that? Sure. Okay, but they're not the average guy. They're not the average shooter. But the average shooter, he's going to come in and he's going to say, hey, you know what? I'd like my Glock set up to shoot at Friday Night Steel.
Yep.
You know, where I can be competitive. Or I'd like to get into this, you know. So I can either build you something or help you with that. So the average guy can come in. I do a lot
I'd like to put a laser on my gun.
Sure.
Or LiDAR. I'd like to put night sights on my gun.
Sure.
Or I'd like to make my gun cycle with my reduced power reloads.
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
You know, I had a guy just get a hold of me a couple of days ago. He says, Dwight, I want to get into muzzle loading. I want something decent. I don't want junk, but I don't want to break the bank either. He goes, will you set me up a package? Sure. So we made that happen. And
here's my budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And and also, you know, like you said, the consultation is worth, because a lot of times people just don't know how much things cost.
Yep.
So
we do a lot of that here, you know, being a shooting range. Is you get all the shooters that come here and they ask questions. They'll ask my dad or I or one of the instructors or you if you're here or a fellow shooter, you know, and if we tallied up all the hours of just complimentary consultation that are provided a year,
right.
I mean, it would be probably into the hundreds.
Yeah.
Over a year's period. It's nothing to be down on the range and talk for 30, 45 minutes, an hour
Sure.
to somebody answering their questions.
And you know, and I don't mind that as long as the person's dealing with me in good faith. And that's,
Yeah.
you know, I really didn't want to get off on this subject too much, but I want to tell you something. I want to talk to the audience out here. It's this.
Yeah.
Listen, when you go into a place like mine and you're dealing with the owner, the gunsmith, or whatever, we're more than willing to help you. I don't know anybody in the industry that's in it as a small business that isn't. But when they spend hours and hours with you,
Yes.
helping you make a good choice, and then you turn around and
You go to Walmart.
You go to
and buy
Walmart, or you
yeah.
go to gun broker,
Yeah.
and you buy that $2,000 shotgun that you didn't even know what to buy,
Yes.
and didn't even give the guy a chance to because you know what, at the end of the day I can get it for you at the same price as what you can get at a gun broker. You know, they cut your throat, and that makes it tough. But you don't know who that is, so you know what? I just leave that in the Lord's hands. I try to be nice to everybody, help them as much as I can, time-wise and things. But you know, you need to. My granddad put it to me like this. He said, Dwight, he goes, always tip your barber and your auto mechanic, because they can really screw you over. And also, I'd say this: be nice to your gunsmith.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, and you're not going to screw anybody over,
No.
but you're right. I mean, and I can say that over the years, you know, because we try to be good to folks here at ProTech and offer a lot of that complimentary consultation, and eventually, not everybody does it. Some folks go to gun broker or go to Walmart or go to Dick's or wherever and
Right.
buy the item on sale that they didn't know about until they talked to you. You're going to have some of that all the
Sure.
time. But a portion of that crowd, when it comes time to, say, buy a holster,
Right.
or when it comes time to get training,
Sure.
or when it comes time to shoot more often and join a shooting range, or when it comes time to maybe look at starting to compete or what have you, we'll come back and say,
Sure.
you know, I know ProTech makes that product or offers that service. I want to go to them because they've always been good to me. They've always taken the time to answer my questions, and I'm sure you have customers like that too.
Oh, sure, and you don't mind that. You know, I've got a good friend of mine that you know, there's no obligation to, just because you're a customer of mine, to buy everything from me. But you know, he buy a gun from this guy over here, but he'll bring it to me and have me mount the scope on it for him. You know,
Yeah.
that's all good. You know, so anyways, I would just say that you know, as far as when it comes to my business and I'm a general practitioner. I run a pro shop for the. Listen, you can go down to Walmart and get advice from that guy behind the counter there.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
but he's not going to be an expert.
All right, or you can go to
most likely.
or you can go to some of the big gun stores, and you might get somebody that knows what they're talking about. But you might get a college student that's just learning. He might be a smart kid, but he doesn't have that base of knowledge. When you come to my shop, I think that you're going to get a professional opinion. You're going to get some good advice, and that can save you money in the long run.
That's right. Very true. Very true. So it sounds like you've got a pretty capable platform to do a lot of different things from Scifres Gunsmithing, and if you can't do it there, you've got other suppliers already on tap to contract work out to.
Absolutely. I established a network.
Yes.
From the time, well, of course, it's just a lifetime of contacts. And then, but I firmed that up in the months while I was waiting for my licensing to come through, and as I built my infrastructure there in my shop and everything, one of the things I did was I made some more contacts and made sure that I've got somebody to cover engraving, I got somebody that can cover bluing. If I need, I do light machine work in there, but if something needs something,
need to turn a barrel,
right?
Or,
something that's more than, because I'm a one guy shop. It's not time effective or cost effective for me to spend $25,000 on a mill.
Yes.
And so there's
so
much that I can do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's covered a lot of what you can do in the store and then outside of the store. You're kind of a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
And it goes outside of just your four walls. I really like that.
Thank you.
Let's see, and yeah, you do a lot of different things, from general repair to trigger jobs, sight jobs, upgrades, all of it.
Yeah, and you've seen some of my work.
Yeah, you do very good work.
Thank you.
I felt several of your revolver triggers, very smooth double action trigger pull. They double stack very nicely. When I say double stacking, I mean the cylinder fully indexes at that last stop point right before the shot breaks, and it just feels nice and crisp. And then the single action trigger pull is just smooth.
And I'll tell you a little hint. You don't get that by just putting in a spring kit.
No, you don't.
That doesn't work that way.
You gotta know how to polish and where to polish and yes, all of that. So where do you see yourself going? So you say you're 55 now.
Yeah.
Say 10, 20 years from now, where do you see yourself going in the gun business?
Well, I'm not a big fan of the whole idea of retirement and doing nothing.
You want to work until you cannot.
Probably,
work.
Yeah, because I really like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think as we get older, we find things that we really like to do.
Yeah.
And what I would like to do is get to the point where that I'm able to specialize in those areas that I really enjoy doing the most, and expand my customer base out through use of social media and things like that. Something I really like? I really like smokeless muzzle loading, like with the Savage 10 ML2. And there's not very many people. Savage made about 60,000 of those guns, I think Randy told me the other day. And then there's also like the certain guns that you can convert over to smokeless muzzle loaders. And I really enjoy working with those. And so I want to encourage people, if they have need some help in that area, contact me. I like working with different double action revolvers and setting those up. And I'll tell you, now this is a very simple thing, at least to me it's a simple thing, but I have found this is very popular with my customers, and that is just setting up a hunting rifle correctly. The average guy, he doesn't know, let's say for instance, you have a Remington 700 in 300 Win Mag. Well, what scope do you put on it?
Yeah.
Okay. What rings and bases do you put on it? Well, see, here's the thing. Just asking those questions that order shows a lack of understanding. The first question that really I want to know, what is your intended use for that gun? Mm-hmm. Are you going to use it on whitetail? Are you going to use it on antelope? Are you going to use it on elk? Are you going to use it on all three? Are you going to use it on a bear hunt in Manitoba? So because it all starts with projectile. The bullet is the only interface between the shooter and the target. So you need to work backwards from that. So that's where I say, okay, this is how we set the gun up for you, for your use. What ammunition we're going to shoot, what's the intended use, then what scope, what rings and bases, also
what magnification, all that.
Right, and as a shooter, are you lefty, are you righty, do you have cross dominance issues, you know, do you have any physical disabilities that we need to consider, what terrain you're going to hunt, all that. So anyways, then set it up right so that the scope will handle the recoil, the scope will do, you know, because the average guy, he might just be happy with a 3x9, but if you're a more sophisticated shooter, you might want something like a 4x12 with a ballistic drop compensating reticle and an adjustable objective with a sight focus knob or sight AO. And
parallax.
Sure,
yep.
yeah. And so to set that up and then just getting it centered on the bore, straight up and down, sighting it in correctly, and providing a drop table. And you know what? My customers, they swear sometimes that I accurized the rifle when I was doing it. No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I've just set the gun up right, and it's the first time in their life they've had a rifle that was set up right, and they can hit with it. And I tell a lot of guys, you may be a better shooter than what you think you are. You've just never had a gun set up right. And, you know, here's a clue. If you really don't understand what MOA means and what it is, you probably don't know how to set your gun up right, but that's what I'm here for.
I love it when, you know, like we're at you know, 100 yards and the guy says, you know, well, I got an inch group. All right, so that's 1 MOA. Well, all right, so at 100 yards, that's close to being 1 MOA. But what's a inch group at 200 yards? It's not 1 MOA. It's half an MOA.
Correct.
You know.
And how many
it's
shots?
An angle. You know.
And how many shots? You know, did you do that with 3 shots, 5 shots, or 10 shots?
Yeah. Are you talking average mean radius? Are you talking extreme spread? And what are you talking?
Right.
Yeah.
And are we measuring center to center or outside to outside? That's
you know, that too.
Sure. So there's a lot that comes in, but at the end of the day, you know, like I said, I'm a pro shop for the average guy.
Yes.
Turnkey.
Make turnkey solution.
You come in. Yeah. Here's you bring me. This is the problem. You come back a week or 2 weeks later. Here you go. Here's your gun. Here's your ammunition. Here's your scope. Here's your drop table. Now, let's make it simple for you, and all of a sudden you're a successful hunter.
Yep. And that, I mean, that's worth so much more than just the equipment itself is that wisdom of how to set it up. Like have you heard of the story of they had this big ship, huge engine in it, they couldn't get it running. They called the old guy who used to work on that ship, he was retired. They brought in other mechanics, could not figure it out, spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars trying to get it running. The old guy comes in with a little itty bitty tool bag with just some basic tools in it. He goes in there, comes out 15 minutes later, the ship's running. And the captain's, oh my gosh, thank you so much, send us the bill. He sends him the bill, it's $1,000. And he sends him a message back, says, why is it so expensive? You were in there 15 minutes. He says, can you give me an itemized list of what I'm being charged here? So he put on there, he said, use of hammer, $1, knowing where to tap, $999.
Yeah.
And that knowledge is so valuable, and our society, I think really loses track of that sometimes. You know, any type of consultation that we get from experts like Dwight is to be valued.
Thank you.
You know, so well, you're welcome, and thank you for being just another member of the community and of our local community. Now, you may be 40 minutes away, but
yeah.
I still consider that local, because
Sure.
there are going to be folks that watch this from other states and what have you. But Dwight, thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for bringing a wealth of knowledge to the table.